Hello friends, family, and internet strangers, Stephanie here, and today I have got a fantastically easy apple recipe for you. This video is part of the monthly collab hosted by Tiffany over at Small Town 6. Every month it's a different theme, and this month we could choose apple or pumpkin. And I grew up in upstate New York with apple orchards all over the place. I have always been a big apple fan. In the fall, apples are pretty much the only fruit that I want. So I've got lots of apple recipes. The one I'm going to show you today is easy and versatile to use in a multitude of ways. But if you're looking for more apple and some pumpkin recipes, make sure that you are checking out the playlist that I'll have linked in the description box below. Also make sure you're checking out Tiffany's channel, Small Town 6, if you haven't already. She also has recently started an online store with some really great t-shirts and apparel, so make sure you are checking that out too, and I'll have that linked in the description box as well. But let's get right into this recipe. I am going to be making some easy cinnamon apples in this video. I had a whole bag of apples, but some of them had little brown spots on them, so I knew I wouldn't be able to use all of every apple. I only ended up using about 6. These were very small, and so I'll get several servings out of that 6 apples, but probably only about maybe 3 servings to 4 servings, depending on how I use this, of cinnamon apples. You can do a large batch of these. You can do these individually because this is a very customizable recipe. You can season it to your own taste since there's no meat or ingredients like eggs that you can't necessarily have raw. You can taste this as you go and make adjustments. Now, I have not mastered the art of peeling apples with a knife. I always see people peel their apples with a knife, and I am envious because I am not coordinated enough to do that. So I do use a peeler. I do prefer my apples to be peeled in pretty much any baked good or any sort of anything other than eating plain raw apples. I do prefer them to be peeled, and also I like to make sure all of the core is out of them. With the texture, I don't like it. So you can see I always run my finger along the inside of the apple after I make a cut because I want to make sure all of that hard shell casing of the seeds is out of my apples. While I'm chopping them, I put them in some salt water and then just rinse them off before I start cooking them so that there's no lingering salt taste, and there was not a lingering saltwater taste in these whatsoever. So once I have cut up all of my apples, peeled all of my apples, I put them in a pan and I add just a little bit of water. It was only about a quarter to a third of a cup of water. And then I put in about a tablespoon of butter. I used the Irish spreadable butter from Aldi. I just got home from Ireland, and so of course I just wanted Irish butter all week. So when I ordered groceries online, I did order some Irish spreadable butter. I am not measuring my cinnamon. I am adding more and more throughout this. The one thing I did measure for y'all, because I'm terrible at gauging seasonings and these ones can be a little bit tricky, I used a 1/8 of a teaspoon of cloves and a 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg, because those ones can overpower things. I did want to make sure I was giving y'all an exact measurement. Everything else I did to taste, and you can do to taste as well, but it's hard to get the clove taste out if you add too much clove to a recipe. It is hard to even that one out. So I would start with a small amount of clove and nutmeg and then add as you go along if you do really like those flavors. You could use apple pie spice instead, or pumpkin pie spice would probably be good in these, but I usually just stick to the basics: cinnamon, nutmeg, and a little bit of clove. Once I have stirred all of that in, I put a lid on it so that it can start to steam and make those apples nice and soft. And then once they are pretty much cooked and only have a little bit left, I want to thicken up this sauce. So I make a little slurry with water and cornstarch, and then I also added a little bit more seasoning. So I added some vanilla And I also added a little bit more cinnamon because I knew it was going to need more cinnamon. I'm a huge cinnamon fan, so I want all the cinnamon in my recipes. I add in my slurry, whisking that together, and then once that is incorporated into that sauce that's over to the side, I stir everything all together, and then I'm going to let that thicken up this so it's not watery, so it's more of a glaze type sauce over these apples, and then adding again more cinnamon as I go. At this point is a good point, once all the apples are coated, to really taste it and see what else you need. I did add a little bit of salt to these, but it somehow didn't get on video. That was back when I was adding the nutmeg and the cloves and the cinnamon at the start. There was also just a pinch of salt added into here. You could also add a sweetener of some sort, but because I plan on eating these mainly with other things that were sweet or other things that had sugar, and I used gala apples, you can use whatever apples you prefer, but those are a sweeter apple, so I did not add any additional sweeter. I just added loads and loads of cinnamon. I like these to be very flavorful with that particular flavor, and also I like them to be a really nice brown color with that glaze. So I am just stirring these around. At this point, I'm going to taste again for seasoning, but I was pretty happy with the seasoning and ended up leaving these be. Now, these are so good and so easy. You can do large batches, you can do small batches. As I mentioned, this is something that is so simple to throw together. This came together in less than 15 minutes between peeling everything and letting it cook down. It really only cooked for about 10 minutes. So you can have these as a side dish. These would go great with pork. If you've been here for a little bit, you may remember that I really love the combination in the fall of pork, apple, sweet potato, and cinnamon. Such a great flavor profile. But these also would be great for desserts. You can use these to make an apple crisp or an apple crumble, or have them with ice cream like I did. Has anyone tried the Aldi cinnamon apple ice cream? Because it is fantastic, and I'm not always a fan of Aldi ice cream, but that one is really good, and I only had a small little portion left, so I decided to use it with the cinnamon apples and a little bit of Cool Whip with some cinnamon sprinkled on top. These also go really well over oatmeal. Now, I know a lot of people know how to make oatmeal and everyone kind of makes it their own way, but I figured I would show y'all my way of making oatmeal. I do it on the stovetop. I have not tried overnight oats. I'm kind of picky with oatmeal. I have to be in the mood for oatmeal. It's one of those things that if I eat it too often, I get really tired of it. So pretty much when I get a craving, I'll have oatmeal. And lately I have been in an oatmeal phase. So I make it with milk, and I add a little pinch of salt. And then once I add my oats in after the water or after the milk has come to a boil, I add cinnamon while it's cooking and then let it simmer for a little while. Now, once it is just about done and I'm just about to take it off the heat, I really like the skinny syrup, brown sugar cinnamon syrup, so I just put 2 pumps of that in this. I'm only doing 1 serving of oatmeal here. I normally don't like it several days in a row, so I just do 1 little serving at a time. It takes me less than 10 minutes. So I add that in, but I don't do it too early, otherwise it can start to burn on the bottom of the pan with that syrup. So I add it right before I take it off the heat, give it 1 last little stir, and then once I take this off the heat, I am just going to let it sit until all that milk is absorbed up into my oatmeal. I'm going to top it with my cinnamon apples. You could also mix it in towards the end of the cooking process if you want to, but I was going to be taking mine to work, so this was simple. I put it in a little takeout container, and this is a really tasty breakfast. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you are here from the playlist, thank you so much for watching this far. I hope you'll consider subscribing if you haven't already. I hope you liked what you see. Again, my name is Stephanie. I do cooking videos. I do what's for dinner videos. I do road trip videos. My most recent video that I just posted a few days ago is another road trip, so I love doing those ones. And then make sure that if you have not checked out the playlist, if you are here from my channel, that you check out the playlist with all of these great apple and pumpkin recipes. And again, that's going to be linked down below. Thanks, Tiffany, for hosting, and thanks everyone for watching. Have a great day.